There is an incredible bond between mothers and their children that science simply cannot explain. A mother's love is unconditional, and everyone knows this. Today's story might be one of the most touching and powerful proofs of this connection. Kate and David. Just a few months after meeting, they felt like they were made for each other. Before long, they had a beautiful wedding and began a life full of love. Their marriage was wonderful. They loved spending time together and shared a deep emotional connection. But there was one thing missing that shadowed their happiness. They couldn't have children. Even though they longed to be parents, it just wasn't happening. Still, they never lost hope. One day, Kate noticed something different in her body. Her eating habits had changed, and her sleep pattern was off. She suspected she might be pregnant, but she didn't want to get David's hopes up too soon. So, she took a test at home, alone. When she saw the result, she couldn't believe her eyes. It was positive. When David came home, Kate surprised him with the incredible news. That night, they stayed up dreaming about their baby and the future. But the surprises didn't stop there. The next day, at their doctor's appointment, they received news that stunned them. They were expecting twins. Their excitement doubled instantly. Kate's pregnancy was going smoothly, and David was by her side every step of the way. But everything changed at 27 weeks. Kate suddenly began having contractions. Luckily, David was home and rushed her to the hospital without wasting a second. Doctors did everything they could to stop the labor, but it was too late. Kate gave birth to two tiny fragile babies. One was a girl, the other a boy. Because they were born so early, both babies were extremely small and were immediately taken to intensive care. Amy, the girl, was weak but relatively stable. But Jamie, the boy, was in critical condition. Doctors fought to keep him alive for over an hour. But sadly, their efforts didn't succeed. They pronounced him dead and came to deliver the devastating news to Kate and David. The couple was waiting in fear, knowing how risky premature birth could be. When the doctor finally came in, he told them Amy was doing well. But Jamie hadn't made it. David collapsed into a chair, quietly sobbing. Kate's voice trembled, barely louder than a whisper. "No, this can't be true." The doctor looked down, sorrow in his eyes, and spoke softly. "I wish it weren't, but it is." Kate's lips quivered. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she choked out the words, "Please, I want to see him. Just bring him to me." The doctors paused. There was hesitation in the room, but the weight of her grief left them no choice. They nodded and granted her final request. They placed Jamie in her arms. He was cold. He wasn't breathing. Kate held him tightly, trying to warm his tiny body. She looked at David and said, "Take off your shirt and lay next to me. We need to warm him together." The doctors assumed she was just reacting to grief, but they allowed it. Kate and David held their lifeless baby close, crying as they whispered how much they loved him. Kate told him how long they had waited for him, how much his sister needed him. Then, just as the doctors were preparing to take Jamie away, something incredible happened. Jamie began to breathe. He reached out and held his father's finger. Everyone in the room froze. A baby they were certain had passed was now alive. Even the doctors couldn't explain it. They simply said, "This is a miracle." Later, Kate gave an interview and said, "If I hadn't insisted on holding my baby, he wouldn't be alive today. My prayers were answered. God gave him back to us." Today, 5 years have passed. Amy and Jamie are happy, healthy children, and now they have a little brother too, named Charlie. Jamie's return to life has been seen around the world as one of the most powerful examples of the unexplainable bond between a mother and her child. A force that defies science, and sometimes even brings the dead back to life. Do you believe this was just a coincidence or a true miracle? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to share it with someone who needs hope today, because sometimes a story can save a life. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay hopeful and never stop believing.